transformed in an instant into superhuman power, while never forgetting that world-class grace and exact lines need to be an equal part of this athletic equation. In the international family of sport, gymnastics has few equals. On the college level, Oregon State has solved this equation consistently. For the past 2 years, they have been the Pac-10 champions. Shari Knight is unquestionably one of the greatest female athletes in the nation. But a torn knee ligament halfway through this, her senior season, has opened the door in the race for Pac-10 supremacy. Knight's heiress apparent, Tracy Crover, is proving lightning does strike twice, at least in Corvallis. She says any talk of Oregon State giving up its crown is a bit premature, and she's here tonight to prove it. UCLA is flying just about as high as any team in the conference. Last month, Amy Thorne sent the crowd into a frenzy at Palo Pavilion, leading the Bruins to an upset win over Arizona State in the UCLA Invitational. John Speeney is wrapping up 13 years at Arizona State. His last conference title came back in 1986. This season, his young Sun Devils are rewriting the record books in Tempe. Witness the fact, this predominantly freshman-sophomore team is ranked 7th nationally. Tonight, we are nestled in the foothills of the Santa Cruz Mountains, Stanford University, where ESPN, the Total Sports Network, is proud to present the 1993 Pac-10 Women's Gymnastics Championships. Tonight, an air of excitement here on Naples Pavilion at Stanford University, where we are set to go at the Pac-10 1993 Women's Gymnastics Championships. Good evening, everybody. I'm Phil Stone. Well, we are just about set. This is a night when many dreams will be fulfilled, both individually and as a team concept. So many dreams, so many of these young ladies want desperately to win this Pac-10 title. When you look at the rankings this year nationally, 5 women's Pac-10 teams are ranked among the nation's top 10. Look at this supremacy. Oregon State 5, followed by UCLA, the Wildcats of Arizona, and the Lady Sun Devils of Arizona State. Working with me on the telecast tonight, a former member of that tremendous 1984 United States women's gymnastics team, Kathy Johnson. And Kathy, when you talk about women's gymnastics in this conference this year, you can't get away from the talk of injury.
Oh, several of the top teams have been hampered by injuries. Most hardest hit is Oregon State University. Lost 2 of their all-around gymnasts, including Shari Knight, who was certainly a favorite for the Nationals. In fact, the 2 all-arounders had knee surgery on the same day. Arizona has been whittled down to a very small but strong group, but they're only going to be competing 5 gymnasts on floor exercise, and that's very risky. So the 2 really strong teams here will be Arizona State and UCLA, and it's really going to come down to consistency.
Now we know about the team. What about individually?
Individually, the top-ranked gymnast is Amy Durham of Oregon State University, but she's certainly in great shape, but she's going to have to contend with Arizona State University's Tina Brinkman. She looks in great shape and competing very well. Arizona has Stacy Foltz, strong and powerful. She scored a 10.0 twice on the uneven bars this season, and UCLA has a strong all-arounder in Karima Mora. But I really think there's a few other gymnasts that are going to be right up there with them.
Well, Kathy, there's no question there is a tremendous sense of excitement here at Naples Pavilion. We are just about set to go. The 1993 Women's Gymnastics Championships from Naples Pavilion. A beautiful evening in Northern California. We are at Naples Pavilion on the campus of Stanford University, and we are set to go. Tonight it's the Women's Pac-10 Championships, and here's the format. A team competition is at stake, as well as all-around honors, the event championships. There will be 7 rotations. 4 will take place at one time. And here is the first rotation order. Washington, Arizona, and Oregon State have received byes. UCLA will begin on the vault, the Sun Devils on the bar, California's on the beam, and Stanford will begin tonight's Pac-10 Championships on the floor. Arizona State on the bars, and this is a sophomore, co-captain Dana Lister.
And Arizona State is off to a very solid start on the uneven bars. Dana was a member of the U.S. national team prior to her collegiate career. She was on that team in 1988 and 1990. She's only competing 3 events in this competition, but when she gets a vault that she can compete, she will be a very strong contender in the all-around.
Good point, Kathy. I remember Dana Lister back in 1987 at the Olympic Festival in Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina.
She had quite a bit of success there. You'll notice right off the bat she has beautiful form, which really comes from her elite training in gymnastics. And by form, I mean straight legs, pointed toes, and nice straight body line throughout the whole routine. Nice full pirouette over the top. Here's her release move. Here's another giant swing to another full pirouette. Notice she finishes the pirouette right in the handstand, goes immediately into her tuckable back dismount. Really the only breaks, and there were minor form breaks, leg separations, that happened so fast it's even hard for the judge to see. Here's her release move. It's called a delta. There's a half twist and then into a front somersault. Dana does it quite well. Now you'll see here, this is really the only minor deductions of slight leg separation there. And then as she goes into her dismount, she starts out with her legs together nicely, then pulls them apart. That also will be a slight deduction.
Sophomore from Tulsa, Oklahoma. She considered UCLA, but felt Tempe was an environment that perhaps she was more used to, coming from Tulsa. Dana Lister, 5'1". What a tremendous collegiate career she still has ahead of her. Her score, a 9-7. And this is Tina Brinkman.
Tina certainly is a contender here for the all-around. Slight leg separation on her release move. Her best events really are vault and floor, though certainly this is more than adequate level of difficulty on the uneven bars. Here's her dismount, toe on front flip with a half twist. And a great landing. She doesn't quite have the same form that we just saw with Dana Lister. Sometimes her legs are a little bit bent, toes aren't quite pointed. But those are very minor deductions, but they do add up. Notice how her legs come apart right here. And that's something the judges can easily see. Her dismount is the toe on front with a half. Puts her feet on the bar, swings out, does a front flip, spots the mat to make the half turn, and a very good landing.
Tina Brinkman. As the score goes up here at Maples Pavilion at Stanford University, she takes a look. Out of Sun Prairie, Wisconsin, the 5'2" sophomore. And her score, a 9.75 for Tina Brinkman. And here is one of the finest bar performers in the United States today, Jenny Esther.
Jenny was a member of the U.S. national team as well with Dana Lister. In fact, they trained together. And Jenny also competed at the World Championships representing the United States. Beautiful form and amplitude throughout the whole routine. I used to say she had one of the most perfect giant swings, as you can see right here, that I've ever seen. Tuck double back way up in the air. Beautifully executed routine.
Earlier this year, Kathy, I heard her name mentioned in the same breath with Julianne McNamara, one of your teammates in '84.
She certainly has the same type of swing, long and very clean. Here's her release move. It's called a reverse hex. The dismount is the same that we saw Dana Lister do. A tuck double back. Look how high she is, way up above the bar.
The freshman awaits her score, Jenny Esther. A 9.85 for Jenny. So the Sun Devils doing quite well here in their first rotation on the bars. Well, what a great lift to get your team off to that kind of start here in these Pac-10 championships.
Well, as I said earlier, it will boil down to who is the most consistent, the team that doesn't count a break.
UCLA, rotation number 1, they are on the vault. And this is Karen Nelson, junior out of Laurel, Maryland. She is a terrific vaulter. Second team All-American. Been rather up and down this year.
Hanson front with a half. Very dynamic vault, and one of the more difficult vaults being done in collegiate gymnastics. Many of the gymnasts are performing a handspring front vault. She adds that half twist, which makes the vault worth a 10.0 in the code of points. She comes on straight forward in the handspring, front flip, spots the mat with a half twist, just a hop on the landing.
That's Karen Nelson, 5'4" junior out of Laurel, Maryland. Her career best on the vault, a 9.9.
UCLA is making a strong comeback. They finished 9th place at Nationals last year. They really want to improve that standing. Another handspring front with a half, but a much better landing. I'm sure you can notice how the camera is shaking. If you could stand on this floor, it's spring-loaded, and it's really rocking the cameras. I remember when I was standing out there, I couldn't believe how much movement there was. Nice position. And of course, a much better landing. Vault will score definitely higher.
Terrific free flight.
The judges look for good, clean form, legs together, tight, tough position, and the all-important landing.
Karen Nelson huddles with her Lady Bruins while they await her score. As we near the end of the first rotation, we're coming back to Maples Pavilion. We'll have Karen Nelson's score as the Pac-10 Women's Gymnastics Championships continue. Along with Kathy Johnson, I'm Phil Stone. We welcome you back to Stanford University. We are at Maples Pavilion for the Women's Pac-10 Gymnastics Championship. A moment ago, we watched this young lady, UCLA's Karen Nelson, the final vaultist, her score, a 9.8. We are set now for rotation number 2. Washington will move to the vault, UCLA to the bars. Arizona State has a bye, as does California and Stanford. Arizona is on the beam and the floor exercise. This time around, we'll go to the Beavers of Oregon State. Here is Amy Thorne.
Now keep in mind, in team competition, there are 6 gymnasts competing, but they can drop one low score. And right now, UCLA has a 9.1 that they would like to drop. Because they have 2 very strong scores, a 9.7 and a 9.775. And if they can drop that 9.1 and build to even higher scores with their remaining 3 gymnasts, they will secure a very, very strong position in the team competition.
What we are about to see, Kathy, from Amy Thorne is a big swinger on the bar. She likes to grab hold and really cut loose, a la Kim Hamilton, in that she loves to bring the crowd into her performance.
She has a huge release move, and unfortunately, she was having trouble with it in warm-up, so it'll be interesting to see how she handles it here. I know she's a little bit nervous. In fact, she walked by me during the warm-ups and said, I'm having a little confidence problem here. But she has a lot of experience. She's a senior, competed for many, many years. So I'm sure she'll handle it. The judges look for the big, giant swing. This event has changed a lot over the past few years. The bars now go out a lot farther, enable gymnasts to really swing bigger and do bigger release moves. So just coming up right here. That's what she was having trouble with. And oh no, the skill down to the low bar is what she had trouble with. Her feet brushed the floor, and that will be a deduction. Amy has 2 release moves in her routine, which makes it much stronger than many of the other gymnasts. And a double twisting flyaway, much more difficult a routine than we've seen so far.
The one problem on the low bar will certainly cost Amy Thorne dearly.
That is just gorgeous, way up in the air. But as she swung through the bottom here, she hits the ground. This is beautiful. Double twisting flyaway. You seldom see this in competition. She does it beautifully.
The senior from Huntington Beach, California, her coach Scott Bull was telling me earlier tonight that She's really our team clown. She's light, she's airy, but boy, when it comes time to approach the apparatus, tremendous focus. And her score, a 9-8 for Amy Thorne. And here comes her teammate, a sophomore from Meriden, Connecticut, Karima Merrow. And I think she is certainly one of the heavy favorites in the all-around in this competition.
She really is a very good all-around gymnast. She doesn't have a weak event. Her strongest event, a vault and floor exercise, but she's also very aggressive on this event. Look how strong she swings. She really goes for the handstand position. Here comes her release move. Reverse hack. Dismount. A pike double back. Now, we've seen several tuck double back flyaways. She does it with straight legs, and a pike position makes it much more difficult. This is her reverse hack. Watch, it's a blind move. She flies backwards over the bar and makes the regraph well above the bar, something the judges look for. And the dismount. Watch how her legs stay straight. She gets into a nice pike position. Takes a step on the landing. Of course, that will be the deduction in the routine.
A tremendous talent. Karima Merrow, just a sophomore from Meriden, Connecticut. Just a few weeks ago at Pauley Pavilion in Westwood, California at the UCLA Invitational, she won the all-around in leading UCLA to an upset win over Arizona State and 4 other teams at Pauley. We'll return to Maples Pavilion in Stanford with more of this Pac-10 championship in a moment. Welcome back to Maples Pavilion. The second rotation still underway. This is Arizona's Stacy Folks as she gets set to mount the balance beam.
And this is one of our all-around favorites, as we mentioned. Arizona has been competing quite well in this event. They have one low score of 8.75. But if Stacy and the final gymnast can hit, they can drop that score. Beautifully executed layout. As we mentioned, Arizona has been hindered by 2 major injuries. 2 of their top gymnasts. Anna Basildua, who was the national champion on the vault last year, and also senior Jamie Jones out with reconstructive knee surgery.
Stacy coming off a terrific junior year, which she captured All-America honors on the beam, the bars, and the all-around.
Very difficult turn. A double turn, and then she puts her foot down and executes another half turn. Very risky. Dismount. Cartwheel to a swing through and a full twist. This has become a very common dismount in collegiate gymnastics. Very nice job. Christy Gunning, by the way, scored a 9.7. She went up 3rd. Here's her double turn. Watch how she has to spot the end of the balance beam, places her foot down, and then does another half-turn pivot. She loses her balance just slightly, so that'll be a small deduction. Here's that dismount. Now watch, she takes off of one foot. She swings the other one through into the full twist. I think we're going to have a very interesting all-around competition here.
Well, it's beginning to take shape. There is the senior from Mesa, Arizona, Stacy Folks, as she awaits her score on the beam. There's what I spoke of just a moment ago, an All-America in 3 events in 1992. Our first look at the Beavers of Oregon State, 2-time defending Pac-10 champions. This is Tracy Crover.
First tumbling pass, high double back, a beautiful landing. Oregon State has certainly risen to the occasion here. As we mentioned at the top of the show, they too have been affected by injuries. Shari Knight, a very strong contender for the all-around at Nationals, is out with knee surgery, and on the very same day, her teammate Heather Bennett also had knee surgery. As her coach Jim Turpin said, they're down about 30% in terms of their scoring power.
Incidentally, Arizona's Stacey Folks, who we saw a moment ago on the beam, had a score of 9.55.
Final tumbling run, double twist. Great ending.
Boy, beautiful style from the junior out of Damascus, Oregon, Tracy Crover.
I think anybody that's ever done a floor routine can relate to that ending. They'd love to just do that, whether it was their ending or not. Very, very tiring. The gymnast has a smile on their face, and it looks so easy. But it takes a lot of endurance to do a floor exercise routine and end with a difficult tumbling pass. Most impressive part of her routine was a landing. Here's her double twist. She goes immediately into a punch front somersault. The final tumbling run was the same pass we just saw, minus the front somersault at the end.
There she is, the junior out of Damascus, Oregon. Not as powerful as some other Oregon State gymnasts we've seen, but very aesthetically pleasing. We're coming back with more of the 93 Women's Pac-10 Gymnastics Championships in just a moment. After two events, UCLA with both of their rotations posted, leading 97.35. Oregon State, Arizona State, the Wildcats, the Bears, the Stanford Cardinal, and the Lady Huskies of Washington rounding out the top 7. Here is Arizona State on the beam, and this is Debbie Bryan.
Debbie's a transfer student from the University of Nebraska, where she was one of their top all-arounders. She's already had a couple of slight bobbles. And I'll tell you what, Arizona State really needs a couple strong routines right now. Their first gymnast had a fall and scored an 8.8, and they really need to drop that score. And they need a couple scores around 9.7 and 9.8 to pull them up.
Been a long time since the Sun Devils have won a Pac-10 championship, but John Speeney this year, Kathy believes this team could rival that terrific squad he had back in 85-86.
This certainly is a strong team in the warm-ups. I actually thought Arizona State and UCLA looked the strongest of all 4 teams. Very difficult leap, a tour jeté. And again, a slight balance break.
Interesting, you talk to different competitors and different coaches, and you get an argument as to what is the toughest apparatus. Some say it is the beam.
I think most people would say the bouncing. It's not the hardest to do, but it's certainly the hardest to compete. Double twist dismount. And keep in mind, she had those few balance breaks. That's why she's shaking her head. She knows they were there.
Debbie Bryan, a 5'4" sophomore out of Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Here's her dismount. It's a round-off double twist. You can really see both twists here in slow motion. Now her legs are crossed, and she almost doesn't get that twist around. It'll be a slight deduction.
Talked about her career at Nebraska. She was a career 9.5 performer on the balance beam. She does not look pleased with that effort. Debbie Bryan awaits her score. And following Debbie on the beam will be her teammate, Dana Lister.
Dana is superb on this event. In fact, she scored her first perfect 10 on the balance beam this year.
There's Debbie's score, a 9.45. Now you get an indication of why she is so disconsolate.
This put a lot of pressure on Dana. Beautiful mount, round-off layout, up to the balance beam. One of the more difficult mounts. Two back handsprings to another layout step up. See how aggressive she is on the balance beam. Every movement is crisp and sharp.
She's had a career on the beam this year alone. 2 perfect 10s.
Oh, no. She hits all her hard skills, and then on her movement down to the balance beam. 0.5 of a point deduction right there. So the highest she could score is a 9.5. And as I mentioned, they really needed scores of 9.7 to 9.8 to stay on pace with UCLA and Oregon State. You can see she's a little tentative on those leaps. Oh, I know she's disappointed. She really wanted to do well here. Round off the handspring to a full twist. A lot of difficulty packed into that routine, and unfortunately it wasn't on one of those more difficult skills that she had the mistake. Now what this means for Arizona State is they will have to count a fall. They can probably drop the 9.8, the 8.8. This will probably score in the very low 9s.
There's the kind of coach John Spini is. 13 years as head gymnastics coach at Arizona State. He's right in there telling his girls, come on, we've got to stay focused. We can't let these 2 problems on the beam derail us on our quest for the Pac-10 championship.
Well, in a sport where championships are won and lost by 1/10 of a point, 0.5 of a point for that fall will cost them dearly.
Dana Lister awaits her score, and while she does, we'll step away. Coming back to Palo Alto in a moment. Welcome back to the Pac-10 Women's Gymnastics Championship as we are set to go. The strongest gymnastics conference in the nation, the Pac-10. Dana Lister, her score a moment ago, a 9.1 on the beam. A very disappointed Dana Lister. The team standings now after 3 events. UCLA continues to lead over Arizona State, Washington, California, Stanford, the Beavers of Oregon State, and the Wildcats of Arizona. 2-time defending champion Oregon State to the vault here, and this is Amy Durham.
Handspring front, beautiful form. As you can see, her legs were perfectly together in a tight tuck position. Oregon State is doing quite well on the vault. In fact, they needed to average a 9.8 on this event to really stay in and move ahead of UCLA. And so far, they're doing just that.
Well, you hit it, Kathy. They are a strong vaulting team. In fact, only Georgia, Utah, and Alabama have done it better this year than the Beavers of Oregon State.
The gymnasts can perform the same vault twice. They take the best score of the 2. Another handspring front, and of course they'll take the first vault.
That first vault, incidentally, a 9.8 for Amy Durham. Certainly on the hunt for the all-around here tonight.
So far, they have 4.98 and a 9.65. And they could potentially drop that 9.65 and really come out of this event in great position.
There's the score, a 9.8. So Amy Durham happy with that vault. And here's her teammate Wendy Smith. She too capable of that 9.798 range.
Another handspring front. Not performed quite as well as we just saw Amy. Doesn't quite have the same form. Not the tight tuck, legs together. She really needs to clean up that form to score over a 9.8.
Kathy, how much does that Lenox Hill type of knee brace affect you when you're airborne? It seems like even the slightest weight could knock you off balance.
It does look quite cumbersome, but fortunately they train with it every day in practice and really become accustomed to the extra weight on the one side. I've seen a lot of gymnasts perform with it. And it's just worth it to protect an injured knee or a formerly injured knee. And she bailed on that vault, so of course she'll keep her first vault score.
Which incidentally was a 9.75, so Wendy Smith unhappy having to abort that second vault. The 9.75 certainly in keeping with Oregon State's evening on the vault scores, as you had mentioned, Kathy, in the 9.798 range.
That's when they're glad they haven't changed the rules in collegiate gymnastics. In elite gymnastics, they now average the 2 vaults, even in all-around competition. So she would have had to just average a 0 in. It hurt her dramatically.
Yeah, really, man.
What a run that man right there has had in Corvallis. Jim Turpin, 8 years at Oregon State. Just an absolutely astonishing rate of success. Just a few moments ago, UCLA's Karima Mero on the balance beam. UCLA 9th in the nation on the beam.
Very difficult pass, round-off layout. UCLA doing quite well on the balance beam. So far, they do have a low score of 9.0. Their final 3 gymnasts really need to hit the routine so they can drop that score, especially since Oregon State is doing so well on the ball. Richard dismount, a tough double back, very difficult dismount.
Karima's score, a 9.7. And while UCLA regroups, we'll step away. Back with more in a moment. Maples Pavilion, a good crowd on hand here at Stanford tonight watching these Pac-10 championships. Here is UCLA's Carol Ulrich, 15th in the nation on the beam.
And Carol has been consistently strong on this event. She's very aggressive. It's an event where so many gymnasts tend to become tentative.
We are in the middle of rotation 4. Back in rotation 2, Carol's teammate Megan Fenton posted a perfect 10 on the bar.
Carol was also an elite gymnast and at one time trained with Bella Caroli.
Talked to her coaches earlier tonight, Kathy, and they said she is one fierce competitor.
Beautiful flexibility. Nice combination into the dismount. Full turn right into the cartwheel. Swing through to a full twist.
She hit a career 9.9 in a loss to Brigham Young a few weeks ago. A tough loss to the Cougars.
This is her 2 back handsprings into a layout step out. Look how straight she is to the balance beam. Keeps her hips square and shoulders square. And as I mentioned, she's so aggressive on the landing. Really a nice job by UCLA on the balance beam. They started out with that fall, but they were able to keep the rest of the routines up and score very well.
Ulrich's score on the beam, a 9.8. And this is Arizona's junior out of Paradise Valley, Arizona, Christy Gunning. 1992, all Pac-10 on the floor.
She opens with a very exciting pass. Watch this. It's a tuck of a back and goes right into a punch front 1 1/4.
Christy's routine taped just a moment ago here at Maples Pavilion.
She performs a second double back in her routine. It's right here. Back there. She's getting a little bit sloppy in her dance right here. Toward the end of the routine, the gymnast gets tired. You really have to concentrate on maintaining form. Nice final tumbling run.
Christy Gunning, the 5'5" junior from Tempe, Arizona, completes with a 9.75. Don't go away. Back with more of the championships from Stanford in a moment. After 4 rotations at these women's Pac-10 gymnastics championships, it appears UCLA is 1 and Stanford is 2. But Kathy Johnson, these standings are just a bit deceiving.
Well, to give you some idea kind of the pace they're on, UCLA is averaging 9.7 so far. They've competed in 3 events. Oregon State is averaging 9.73 on the 2 events they've competed. So they're very, very close. And Arizona and Arizona State quite a bit down from the top 2 teams, but they've got a tight competition going for 3rd.
Stanford, if you broke that down even further, would be down in 5th or 6th place, respectively. So that's the situation after 4 events here. We are at Maples Pavilion in Palo Alto, California. Along with Kathy Johnson, I'm Phil Stone, and we are just about set to go for the 5th rotation. And we will see 2-time Pac-10 defending champion Oregon State on the bars. And here is one of their aces, Amy Durham.
There's her release move. Here comes her dismount. The toe on front with a half twist. Very nice landing. She had a few form breaks in the routine. You can see her legs separate a little.
She's a senior out of Salt Lake City, Utah. Talked to people who have watched Amy over the years, and they said she experienced success at Oregon State that she never had at high school level. Amy awaits her score. Appears very happy with that effort on the bars.
So far, they have very good scores. Jim Turpin has to be really proud of this team so far. They have pulled themselves together after the huge disappointment with Shari Knight and Heather Bennett out with injuries.
And there's the score for Durham, a 9-8. And here is teammate Tracy Grover.
Very clean form. Oh, no. She made the hard move, the release move, had the regrasp, but then couldn't get her hands and feet on the low bar. Five-tenths of a point deduction right off the bat. Here's the release move. Very well done. Now she releases and drops to the low bar, and it's just out of position and can't get her gripped onto the bar. They have one final gymnast yet to compete on the uneven bars. And if she can hit her routine, this is the score that they will drop, because it'll certainly be in the low 9s. Keep in mind, they've been averaging a little bit over 9.7, so they've dropped just a little bit on this event.
Tracy Crover cannot believe it. Always amazes me, Kathy, how you gymnasts can refocus so quickly.
Well, in the team competition, every 10th of a point is crucial. So even after fall, you have to get up and not make any more mistakes. As I said, championships are won or lost by a 10th of a point sometimes.
Now, she was a favorite to win the all-around, but that has really set that goal in the back seat. And here is Renee Runyon. She has been terrific on the bars this year. Career best of 9.9. Incidentally, Crover's score a 9.35. The freshman from Los Gatos, California, mounts the bars.
Nice form on her front giant. Beautiful amplitude. Way up above the bar on that release move. And a dismount, a tuck double back. We've seen several of those performed in the competition. The most exciting part of her routine is her amplitude. And by that I mean she takes everything to the fullest, especially the release move. So great height up above the bar. Nice smooth swing throughout the whole routine. That will score well. Here we can take a look at her release move. Performed out of a front giant. She does a front somersault and actually finishes the somersault way up above the bar before she makes the redraft. Also shows off beautiful toe point throughout all of her swinging movements. Here's the dismount. Tuck double back. Nice form in the air. See how she keeps her legs together in a tight tuck position.
A 9.9 for Renee Runyon. A terrific mark. Now the Oregon State Beavers awfully pleased with their effort thus far tonight. The regionals and the NCAA Women's Championships are going to be held right in their home arena. Oh, what a great thing to look forward to.
I think now they can look forward to it. At first, after the injuries to Shari Knight and Heather Bennett, they were so disappointed, especially the buildup over the last 2 years, knowing they were going to be hosting the Nationals. It was quite a letdown.
A year ago, Arizona State's Tina Brinkman in Tucson found perfection on the floor in the Pac-10 Championships tonight. She'll try and do it again.
She also was a finalist at the Nationals last year on this event and placed 6th. Gymnastics.
Look at her play to the crowd.
Final coming on, a double twist. Very nice level of difficulty in this routine.
Tough to find a flaw in the performance by Tina Brinkman of Arizona State. Kathy, I'm not sure it's a 10, but it can't be far off.
It'll be a great score, and more important, they really made a strong comeback after balance beam. Remember, they had to count a fall there. And this will really pick them up greatly. This is her first pass. It's a full twist on the first somersault, and then she pulls that second one right around. This is her second pass. It's a double back in tuck position. Great landing.
Her lowest score all year on the floor is a 9.6. Her highest this year, a 9.9. And here in this 1993 championship, Tina's score, a 9.95. Don't go away. We're coming back to Stanford Maples Pavilion with more in just a few moments. Oregon State, UCLA, and Arizona State rounding out the top three after 5 rotations.
Keep in mind, Arizona has yet to compete on their third event. They will move right up in there tight with Arizona State.
And Kathy, one might surmise you had your crystal ball working at the outset of our telecast. Those 3 names, the 3 you had selected as the top 3 in the all-around.
Tell you what, there's another gymnast coming up very strong in the all-around, Christy Gunning. Scored very well on her first 2 events.
Here is Arizona on the vault, and here comes Stacy Folks.
Handspring front top, beautifully done. This has been Arizona's most inconsistent event so far in the season. So far, they're doing quite well. Nice position off the horse. She could have gotten a little bit more distance. See how close she lands to the horse? Judges really would like to see a little bit more amplitude off the horse and more distance.
Arizona coming off a terrific year in 1992, Kathy, in which they went to an unprecedented 5th place team finish at the NCAAs. Incidentally, Stacy's first vault a 9.75, and quite frankly, that's just about in her range.
Keep in mind, they've been greatly hurt by the absence of Anna Basildua on this event in particular. She's the vault national champion. She's out with an injury. Oh, a lot of people are having trouble with their second vault. Fortunately, they only take the best of the 2 scores. So she'll, of course, keep that 9.75.
There's no question folks will keep the 9.75. Her teammate, Christy Gunning, the junior from Paradise Valley, Arizona, just outside Phoenix, is up next. She was a model of consistency for Arizona a year ago. Moved into a top all-around position with the addition of a balance beam to her impressive performances in her 3 other apparatus. There she is, the junior from Paradise Valley.
She and Stacy have competed quite closely throughout the season, trading off first and second place. Handspring front with a half twist. Much more difficult vault, and it's worth a 10.0. The handspring front is only worth a 9.9 if done perfectly. Best part of that vault, obviously, was the landing. You can see some form break throughout the vault, and a little short on the twist. See, right there, legs are separated, legs slightly bent. She just barely gets that twist around. In fact, lands with 1 foot slightly in front of the other. But she stuck the landing, and the judges always like that. Right here, you can really see the legs separate and bend. Good height. Didn't quite get it all the way around.
At 5'5", Christy Gunning is a giant among gymnasts. But look at that score, a 9.9 for Christy Gunning.
Like I said, I think the judges like that landing.
Well, the flight portion of the vault, Kathy, as you mentioned, certainly was nowhere near perfection, but you're right. I think she stuck the landing, and that impressed the judges. And She is set now for her second vault.
She's performing the same vault again. And equally as well. There's only one thing better than sticking your vault. Sticking your second vault as well. Quite often I've seen in the past where the gymnast will do the exact vault, perform it the exact way, and stick it again. And oftentimes the judges will even go higher on the score.
Her first vault, a 9.9. Her second vault, we'll find out when we come back to Maples Pavilion with more of the 1993 Women's Pac-10 Gymnastics Championships. This is UCLA's Karima Merrow, sophomore out of Meriden, Connecticut. And I've looked for the last few weeks. I have yet to find a weakness in this young lady's performances.
She is extremely powerful in this event. Watch the height here on her tumbling pass and a double layout. One of about 2 or 3 gymnasts in the country in collegiate gymnastics performing that skill.
Christy Gunning of Arizona on her second vault received a 9.95 while we were away.
Final tumbling pass, a pike double back, very difficult at the end of the routine. You notice we've seen many of the gymnasts start the routine with it. Some even do it in their middle pass, but very few do it in their last pass.
Last month, she won the all-around at the Bruin Invitational at Palo Pavilion in Westwood. She did it in 1992, repeated it a couple of weeks ago, and is on a pace to possibly win the Pac-10 all-around here tonight. Karima Merrow of UCLA.
Here's that first pass, very dynamic, very difficult. Double layout somersault. Her body stays completely straight throughout the entire rotation. Just a tiny bit short on the landing. And as I said, it's very difficult to perform a double back in the final tumbling run. She does it in pike position, which makes it even more difficult. She does it very well.
You don't think she's happy? I'll tell you, that is the smile of the possible all-around champion here at these Pac-10 Championship. And now, all eyes, including Karima's, are on teammate Amy Thorne. There's Karima's score, a 9.85. But the lady she watches now scored a perfect 10 last month against the Cougars of Brigham Young, Amy Thorne.
Amy's tumbling is not nearly as difficult as Karima Merrow's, but her choreography and her interpretation of the music is wonderful to watch. Pike double back. Keep in mind that's the pass that we saw Karima end her floor routine with, and she also stepped out of bounds. You saw the judge's hand go up at the 10th of a point deduction. Beautiful triple turn. Her difficulty lies in the dance. Much more intricate choreography. She knows how to play it up.
What a performance.
Very nice routine.
Amy Thorne trying to do her part to get the Bruins back into the winner's circle in these Pac-10 championships, a spot that they have not occupied since back in 1990. I think Amy might have hit her nose or her chin on the mat there.
Well, on the final tumbling run, it's a 1 1/4 somersault where they land on their stomach. Quite often, your nose gets in the way. Comes down pretty hard, too. Here's her pike double back. Beautiful form. Amy always has good form on all the events. Always maintains straight legs and pointed toes.
There she is, Amy Thorne. Still can't tell whether she did a face plant there or not. I think she did. Yes, she did. She got a little bit of a bloody nose there. Absolutely.
It's called a rug burn, unfortunately.
She's looking across for the score.
And it's really bad when you've done nothing wrong. It just so happens that it's just in the right position, or the wrong position, I should say. Just scrape underneath her nose.
And there's the score, a 9.7 for Amy Thorne. Now, don't go away. We're coming back with more as the Pac-10 championships continue from Stanford. After 6 rotations, the Bruins of UCLA continue to lead. California, Stanford, Oregon State, Arizona, Arizona State, and the Huskies of Washington rounding out the 7 schools taking part in these 93 women's Pac-10 gymnastics championships. As we move to rotation number 7, it is Arizona on the bars. And the first competitor we will see, a true freshman out of Lee's Summit, Missouri, outside of Kansas City, Darcy Wamsgans. And Kathy, she holds every gymnastics record in all events and the all-around at Lee's Summit High.
She's doing quite well in the all-around so far. Dismount, tuck double back. Her routine didn't have the big release moves that we've seen in many of the other routines. She utilized more of the pirouetting moves and hop to handstand.
.411 freshman out of Missouri, Darcy Wamsgans. Arizona, a 5th place finish, unprecedented in the school's history in the NCAAs, and it happened a year ago.
We talked about a lot of the injuries to these top teams here, and it's really made it so important that the freshmen be able to step in and compete, and they're all doing very, very well, moving into the role.
Team competition very close, as is the all-around, with Amy Durham, Tina Brinkman, Karima Merrill all bunched together.
And Christy Gunning moving up every event.
I like her style a lot. Doesn't seem to have the overwhelming power, but what tremendous lines and grace.
Arizona and Arizona State are both pretty far behind the top 2 teams, Oregon State and UCLA. In a very tight competition for 3rd place so far. Arizona is ahead and doing well here on the uneven bars.
Christy Gunning's career best on the bars, a 9.85.
Nice solid routine for her. She doesn't have the big, long swing that we've seen some of the top bar workers, but she did have the big release move, plenty of difficulty in the routine, and a nice landing on the dismount. Several of the gymnasts have done this dismount. Go on front with a half twist, very similar to the vault that we've seen.
Arizona knew all year long they would be a strong team on the bars. They're ranked 7th in the nation. Of course, Utah ranked just about number 1 all the way across the board. Number 1 in the nation, followed by Georgia. To the vault we go. Here are the Arizona State Sun Devils, and here's Tina Brinkman. This is her second vault.
Tina's performing a handspring front flip with a half twist. Same vault we saw Christy Gunning do and score a 9.95. And I tell you what, this is a much better vault, actually. But the judges have painted themselves in a corner. Where are they going to go?
Scores have been uncharacteristically high, to put it mildly.
This is really a very nice vault. Legs together. She finishes the twist early and drops in. The only slight deduction she has is landing with one foot slightly behind the other.
She has had a solid meet. I saw her a couple of weeks ago, Kathy, at the Bruins Invitational in Los Angeles, and she performed very, very well a few weeks ago, too.
Certainly one of her best events, and that was a really good vault.
The Wildcats of Arizona ranked 7th in the nation on the vault nationally, and this is Stacy Folks.
Nice front giant into a full pirouette. Here's her release move, front flip catch.
Tina Brinkman a moment ago of Arizona State on the vault, a 9.95.
Nice giant swing. Here's the dismount. Tuckable back. Good landing.
Stacy Folks, number 3 in the nation on the uneven bars. While she awaits her score, we'll step away. Back with more in a moment. Oregon State moves to the beam, and this is Michelle Sandoz.
And a little bit of pressure on the remaining 2 gymnasts here for Oregon State. They had a fall earlier in their rotation. Scored a 9.15, and they really need to drop that score. She's very quickly on bouncing. There's a lot of confidence.
Kathy, how many required moves are there on the beam?
Well, there's several special requirements. They have to combine dance elements. It's called their gymnastics series, like 2 leaps in a row. They have to combine gymnastics acrobatic combination, combining dance and an acrobatic element. Of course, they need to do a tumbling pass on the balance beam. Dismount. We've seen a lot of those in this competition. I think it's really become the most common balancing dismount in collegiate gymnastics.
5'3" junior. A good performance on the beam. A few moments ago, we saw Stacy Folks of Arizona on the bars, and there's her score, a 9.9. Her teammate, Christy Gunning, posted a disappointing 9.55. And Michelle Sandoz, her score, a 9.5.
There's that cartwheel swing through to dismount off of one leg into a full twist.
Now Michelle Sandoz.
Oregon State has a high score of 9.7 on this event. They also have a 9.5 and a 9.3, and of course that 9.15 that they really need to drop.
And there's that 9.5 I spoke of. And keep in mind, Oregon State will be hosting the 1993 NCAA Championships. And here is Oregon State's Tracy Crover.
She has a beautiful style on this event. Excellent flexibility. Here's her tumbling pass. 2 back handspring to a layout step out. With a small balance check at the end.
Kathy, on a team already studded with stars, she has found a place for herself on that marquee in Corvallis.
It looks like they'll be able to drop that 915. And stay steady. Hartwell layout step out. Beautifully done. Quite a bit of difficulty in this routine. Look at dismount. Double twist. Great landing. Very nice routine. That's going to be important, keeping them up close with UCLA. As I said earlier, this team has risen to the occasion and really pulled together to make up for the loss of Shari Knight and Heather Bennett.
Well, a year ago at the Pac-10 Championships in Tucson, she posted a career-high 9.9 on the beam, and she would certainly love to duplicate that here tonight.
This was the most beautiful pass in the whole routine. A cartwheel layout step out. Really keeps her legs locked out straight. Nice form. The dismount, we've seen a couple of these in the competition. So round off on the end of the balance beam. She does a layout with 2 twists. 1 and 2. Finishes it very nicely with a stuck landing.
A year ago, she was on the all Pac-10 all-academic team, and there's her score, a 9.75. Don't go away. We'll return to Maples Pavilion to begin to wrap it up for you in a moment. The UCLA Bruins led it all night long, and they captured their first Pac-10 title since 1990, their 5th overall, as they dethroned the Beavers of Oregon State. Arizona and Arizona State finished 3rd and 4th, respectively, followed by Washington, California, and the Stanford Cardinal. And the all-around competition, what a way to go for UCLA's Karima Mero, by the narrowest of margins over Tina Brinkman and Christy Gunning of Arizona. Kathy Johnson is standing by with 2 very, very happy UCLA Bruins, co-head coaches Scott Bull and Valerie Condos. Kathy?
Well, UCLA back on top of the Pac-10. How important was this win? And more important than the win, UCLA doing well at an important competition.
It has been a goal of ours to reestablish UCLA as the dominant force in the Pac-10. The Pac-10 is the #1 conference in the nation. With winning this meet, it sets us up for a very good position for the regional and national championships.
Great. Now, what is this quiet storm? You have to explain this to me. All the kids have it on their back.
The quiet storm is the team's motto, and they came up with that. And they are unique in that instead of being cocky and arrogant, they are instead confident yet humble. And the quiet storm, they epitomize the quiet storm, that calm roar that starts to grow and build through the season. And that's exactly what we have done from the very beginning of the season. Each meet they've gotten better and better, and the quiet storm has rumbled and rumbled.
You have to be particularly proud because they handled some pressure, especially over at balance beam. In the past, sometimes they go into beam, they've got a comfortable lead, and things happen, which can happen on beam, but this is different.
They are together. They've come together after every event. We've gone into some meets where they've let it snowball, and they know that they can't let that happen, and they take responsibility to turn it around. And that's exactly what happened going into beam. They took that responsibility and made it happen tonight.
Great, thanks, coaches. And to my right here, Karima Mero, sensational all-around performance. Is this your best all-around performance yet?
Yeah, thus far, yeah.
How do you separate it? Because the thing I like about collegiate gymnastics is the sense of team unity and the importance that the team places on the team competition. Are there any points in the competition that you kind of separate that and go, gosh, I'm in the lead, or I'm in for the all-around? Can you even do that?
No, because it's really important that we do stay together as a team, because you need your teammates to build your confidence up and just to remind you that you can do it and get through it without any doubts in your head.
Well, it's got to be great to help the team so well into a victory and to your own personal victory. Congratulations. Back to you, Phil.
Kathy, it doesn't make any difference who you put up in front of Karima Mero. She simply goes out each and every meet and takes care of business. She is the all-around winner here in 1993. Let's take a look now at all of our individual winners going to these Pac-10 championships. Christy Gunning and Tina Brinkman tie for honors in the vault competition with scores of 9.95. In the uneven bars, UCLA's Megan Fenton with a perfect score captures the bars competition. In the balance beam, it was University of Arizona's Jenna Caraville and UCLA's Carol Ulrich finishing in a tie for the #1 spot. And in the floor exercise, nobody did it better than Tina Brinkman of Arizona State with a score of 9.95. It was a great night of competition in these 1993 Women's Pac-10 Gymnastics Championships. Right now, let's go back out to Kathy Johnson. Kathy?
Thanks, Bill. I have Jim Turpin here, Oregon State University's head coach, and boy, you have got to be proud. It was funny, right after the meet, you walked in front of me, thumbs up, and said, back from the dead.
Right, well, that's what it feels like. We've really been a struggling team for the last 5 weeks after we lost Shari Knight and Heather Bennett. That's 30% of our score right there, and we've really struggled. And to finally put a meet together after all we've been through this year is a real good feeling, and it's going to go a long way towards carrying us through the rest of the season, which is very important because we're hosting regionals and nationals both, and we certainly want to be there.
Now, you told me something about you could hold on to your #1 ranking. Explain that to me.
Well, we qualified to the NCAA regionals based on our preseason meets, and this was the last meet for both UCLA and us, and we needed to stay within 9.5 tenths of UCLA, and we finished 8 tenths behind them, so we'll go in just slightly ahead of UCLA. That's nice because now we have the home court advantage, plus we get to go in Olympic order. And we've been struggling on bars, so we didn't want to have to start on bars. So we feel good.
Great. Congratulations. Well, great news for UCLA and Oregon State. Back to you, Phil.
All right, Kathy. Jim is going to be a very busy man here in the next few weeks as Oregon State Beavers will host the regionals and the nationals in Corvallis. And now for Kathy Johnson, I'm Phil Stone. So long, everybody.